Hi everybody, thank you for joining me. My name is Kia and I'm from Cara Bookkeeping Specialist, and this video is how to use the cash flow forecast as part of our financial analysis toolbox series. So if you watched the last video, I showed you how to create a forecast, and if you followed the steps of that video, you're going to have a spreadsheet that looks like this. I've added a few more rows to this, going into detail in the income and expenses, and I'm going to show you those shortly. This scenario is a live example of a cash flow forecast for a fruit and veg store. The fruit and veg store packages fruit and veg baskets and distributes them to the customer. It's an online retail store that sells B2C, so business to consumer or business to the public. I've used the monthly forecast, I've used the monthly layout. So the periods, the timeline I'm using is month by month, going from January to December of next year. And we can see here, we've still got the opening balances as I showed you before, and then the income list and the expenses and the closing balances. And as I said, if you wanted to do this as a daily, weekly or annual forecast, you're more than welcome to change these dates as it suits you best. This spreadsheet is available as a free download to you. So if you want it, you just need to drop me an email. My contact details will be in the description box. Let's look at this forecast in a little bit more detail. I've got 4 categories of different types of income here. The most important one for you is going to be sales. Sales revenue is the total income, the total money into your business in each period from your sales. So whether you're selling a product or a service, it's the amount of money you've earned from selling those items each month. As this is a fruit and veg basket distributor, like a gift basket, I've predicted my figures and saying that when I start the business in January, I'm not going to have too many sales in the beginning because people don't really know me. And in March, I'm going to do a big promotion for Mother's Day and Easter, and I expect to get a few more sales. They're about £400 worth of income. As time goes on, people are going to continue to know me and become more familiar with my service and my product, and I'm going to steadily increase my sales month on month. When we get to October, I'm again predicting a big increase in sales revenue because I'm going to be doing promotions for Halloween, selling huge baskets of pumpkins and squash and things like that, and then drops down again, but back up in December for the Christmas season when people want a lot of fruit and veg on their Christmas tables. So I go horizontally along the columns and fill in all of my sales figure for the next 12 months. You might have bank interest that you want to put in there. Investment, you might see investment shown as capital injection or owner's equity. But basically, it's money brought into the business from investors, owners, partners, shareholders, etc. Anybody with an interest in the business. And you may have other types of income, such as, for example, refunds or any other types of money coming into your business in that sense. Now, if you wanted to add or remove any of the rows here, it's really easy to do. You can just right click delete or right click and insert. And because I've got this blank row underneath the data set here, anything you add or remove on top of that blank row is going to be included in the formulas. So if I add another income, you can see it automatically updates the total income, the closing and opening balances automatically updated as well. So you are free to manipulate the spreadsheet as much as or as little as you need. Let's look at the expenses. I've added lots of extra categories here from what was on the previous spreadsheet, and that's so that this will have as many different expense types as going to suit your business. It should be suitable for most, if not all, businesses. You will have something along these lines. You can change names, edit them, add them, or remove them as you like, but similar as the process above, just put in your costs, your expenses as time goes on. Move along the calendar and go month by month, adding each cost for each type of expense that is featured here. Direct costs you may see written in other ways. You might see it as purchases, you might see it as COGS, cost of goods sold, that I showed you before. And direct cost is basically the total costs, what it costs you to make and sell your product or service that you're selling. So the total amount of cost. So for this fruit and veg basket, that's going to be my apples, my oranges, my vegetables that goes into one basket, and the basket itself, and possibly even the cost of distribution for that one basket. That's going to be my direct cost. It relates directly to the item that I'm selling. So separate your direct costs from all the other costs involved in running your business. Once you've got this spreadsheet completed and filled out with all of your predicted data, you're going to have the same line graph that I showed you how we create in the previous video. Really useful, brilliant tool. We can see visually immediately that our cash flow position is strengthening as time goes on. We can even predict from that it's going to continue to be successful. And if we've got good, strong cash flow position, we're more likely to continue trading and being successful in our business. Now, a nice trick with Excel that I find is so useful to use, and I recommend that you do as well, is if you just click on this blue line here, which is the representation of the data, right click and click add trend line. It automatically sets to linear. And if you look down here, we've got forecast forwards or backwards. So if I want to look 6 months into the future, I'm choosing 6 periods, and one period here is a month, then I'll just put 6. And the spreadsheet, the line graph, automatically updates and uses a trend line which calculates the averages of my data and looks ahead an additional 6 months. You can do that for 12, 24 months, you can do it for 5 years. So if somebody asks you for a 5-year forecast, you don't need to go and put 5 years worth of figures into your data table. You can put 1 year, you can put even 6 months, and use a trend line to forecast ahead for however long in the future you want to see that forecast for. Really useful tool, really makes your life a lot quicker and a lot simpler. Similarly, if you had only this year's data and you wanted to look for next year, use your current data in the table to populate this graph and then forecast ahead for the next year. If you're not able to predict your figures as accurately as you would like, but you do have current figures, use what you currently have to create your forecast. So let's get rid of that line quickly. And let's look at another way that we can use our cash flow forecast. So remember in the previous example, we was talking about making an investment in September in the business. We want to invest in renting a premises, and that's £2,000 a month. And the first month you have to pay a deposit as well, so 1 month in advance. If we was to add those figures into our forecast, immediately the line graph changes, the visual representation changes and shows us that we're going to have a problem much easier to see than looking in the data set above. And then we can use our growth strategy tools and our predictive tools to mitigate that risk and that issue that's being caused here. We could very easily increase our sales figures and say, what level of sales do I need to achieve in order to sustain that investment, to make that investment viable? You can change these figures and then use your changes to find the situation, a scenario that works best for you, and then plan to make those sales figures. Similarly, you could reduce your costs here if it's possible for you to do that. Reduce your costs and see how much of a reduction you need to achieve in order to be able to make that investment viable. But the easiest one that I think is just to change the investment. So, okay, it's not possible for me to do that in September. Let me see if I push it to later on in the year, what effect does that have on my cash flow? And we can immediately see the change here. It's still not a great situation, okay? There's still cause for concern here. But what does this tell us? It tells us that in November, when we make that investment, we're not so bad off as we was previously. And in December, I'm not in negative, which means I still have money in my account, I still have cash that I'm able to trade with. My cash level will be about £708 in my bank. So I'll still be able to make purchases and sell goods for the next few months. It might not last long, especially if this trend continues. It won't last much longer into 2022, but there's still the ability for me to continue trading. And as long as I can continue trading, there's chances for me to make the business successful. I would then have to take steps to increase my sales revenue and make sure the income is supporting that new investment. But this can show you how you can manipulate your figures. You can forecast different scenarios to see what works best for you. So I hope that that's clear and you're able to understand how useful the cash flow forecast tool is and the best ways for you to use it for yourself. If you are choosing to use a cash flow forecast, please remember to use it frequently and accurately. So put as much accurate data into the forecast as you can to get a better representation out of it. And if you're doing a monthly, weekly, or daily forecast, look at it as frequently as you need to. And when the time comes, when it comes to January 2021, go ahead and put in your actual figures. And then when it comes to February, put in your actual figures, your actual income and your actual expense. That changes this forecast from being a forecast based on predictive figures, assumptions, to being a forecast based on actuals. And you can compare your predicted data with your actual data. And that's a nice tool to use as well to see if you're on track if you're below reaching your targets, and then you can adapt your strategies to meet your business needs. So thank you so much for watching this video. I do hope you found it useful. If you do want the download of the spreadsheet, please send me an email. My email is in the description box below, and I'll get that sent to you as soon as I can. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave me a like, comment, subscribe, follow the page, whatever platform you're on. I look forward to hearing from you all. Thank you so much. Stay safe.